Good afternoon to you all, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you're all good. And today it is the final hour, the Thunder Hour. I want to give you the counters and what best Pokemon to utilize to take down the raid bosses within this hour of the second day of GoFest. So let's jump into it. As I've said in the previous 3 videos, you are of course entitled to raid whatever you so please. If you're searching for specific shiny, or if you're like me going for the meta raid attackers, or if you're into the PvP game, it is up to you. I'm going to be giving you a general counters of every single legendary that's featured within the hour, and then you can pick and choose your teams respectively to make sure that you have less faffing around with the recommended, let's be honest. The Thunder Hour is going to cover the 4th and the 8th slot during the second day of GoFest, 1 to 2 PM and finally 5 to 6 PM. Jumping straight into the legendaries, Zapdos, a dual type of electric and flying, but the 100% IV at level 20 is 2015. Windy and Rainy boosted, level 25 it is 2519. Because of the dual typing, it's only got 2 weaknesses of rock and ice, but bear in mind, if you watch the previous guides, I told you to create an ice and potentially a rock type team, so you're pretty much covered. Mega Abomasnow, Shadow Mamoswine, normal Mamoswine, Weavile's in there if you so please, Articuno as well, and of course the rock type teams, you've got Rampardos, you've got Rock-Wrecker Rhyperior, you've got Stone Age Tyranitar as well. Second legendary is Raikou, a pure electric type. The 100% IV at level 20 is 1972 and boosted in the rainy weather is 2466. Because of the solo electric typing, it's got 1 weakness only, which is ground. This is where I think the ground might start to play in quite nicely, because quite a few of the legendaries in the previous hours also have a weakness to ground, and going forwards in this hour, quite a few have ground weaknesses as well, so maybe create a ground type team. Ground type counters, of course, cover the Community Day Garchomp with Earth Power. You've got Groudon in there, you've got Excadrill, you've got Landorus of both forms. Next up is Registeel, a pure steel type, and the 100% IV for that normal is 1398 and boosted in the snowy weather is 1748. 3 weaknesses to pick from of ground, fighting and fire. So ground cropping up once again with the Garchomps with the Earth Power. You've got Groudon. Fighting, you go with Conkeldurr, Lucario. It's a bit glassy, but you've also got the fire type squad. You can bring in Reshiram, you can bring in Mega Charizard Y. Next up, Rayquaza. Rayquaza, one of the firm favourites, and certainly one of my favourite Pokemon. Definitely going to be raiding this one. And the 100% IV at level 20 is 2191. And boosted in windy weather only because of the dual flying and dragon type, it is 2739. 4 weaknesses to pick from, obviously Dragon, Rock and Fairy, but there's a double weakness to Ice in there, ladies and gentlemen. And I've said create an Ice type team before. This is why you need an Ice team. Double weaknesses play such a big part in creating so much more damage and taking down these legendaries much more quickly, so Ice type team is more than necessary for this legendary. Mega Abomasnow, there's Shadow Mamoswine, normal Mamoswine, Galarian Darmanitan, you can bring in Weavile, there's Mewtwo with Ice Beam is in there too. Of course you can take in dragon types like Rayquaza, Shadow Dragonite, Shadow Salamence too, rock types Rampardos, Rock-Wrecker Rhyperior, fairy types Togekiss and Gardevoir. The counterpart to Palkia, which obviously was detailed to potentially be coming out as a speculation for the Ultra Unlock, part 1 of time for the GoFest. It's Dialga, ladies and gentlemen, and this one needs to come back with a shiny. I hope it does. I'm still going to raid pretty hardcore for it during the GoFest window. The 100% IV level 20 is 2307 and boosted is 2884, and it's only boosted in snowy and windy conditions because it's a dual typing of dragon and steel, a unique combination which very much dictates what you take in against it. This is the only dragon that is neutral or resistant to fairy and dragon type moves, so you're only going to be able to counter it with its steel type weaknesses of ground and fighting. I have already said to create a ground type team earlier in this video. Ground types, like I said before, Excadrill, Community Day Garchomp, Groudon, etc. Obviously you can bring in fighting types like Lucario, Conkeldurr, Machamp, Shadow Hariyama. Next up, Therian form Thundurus, the highest DPS attacker in the electric category. The 100% IV for this in normal conditions is 2091, and weather boosted in windy and rainy conditions is 2614. 2 weaknesses, exactly like Zapdos. If you are listening and paying attention to these counter guides, you should already have a team sorted for this. There's Rock and Ice as its counters. Rock-Wrecker Rhyperior, Rampardos, Stone Age Tyranitar, Terrakion. You've also got the Ice type team of Mega Abomasnow, Shadow Mamoswine, Galarian Darmanitan, normal Mamoswine, Weavile, Ice Beam Mewtwo. This is a firm favourite, Zekrom. Zekrom returning to raids, which is very much welcome. This has exactly the same stats as both Dialga and Reshiram. 100% IV normal is 2307 and boosted in the rainy and the windy conditions 2884. 4 weaknesses of ground, dragon, fairy and ice. You've got your ground type team to cover if it's got electric type moves. Earth Power Garchomp, Groudon, Excadrill, Landorus in either form, Incarnate or Therian. You've got Rayquaza, Garchomp with dragon type moves. You've got Mega Charizard X. You've also got Ice type team that I've already mentioned. You've also got the fairy team as well. The final legendary we're going to cover is Xerneas, which was already here earlier this year in May, and it is a pure fairy type. Same stats as Yveltal as I mentioned in a previous video. It is 2160 for the level 20 hundo, and the boosted is 2701. Boosted in cloudy conditions. Just 2 weaknesses of Steel and Poison. This is a unique combination. Steel has been used as part of teams for other legendaries, but Poison I think is pretty unique. Steel types, obviously you've got to go Metagross. Meteor Mash Metagross is pretty much the only one to go for. You can obviously use Excadrill with the Steel type moves. You can obviously use Dialga. Poison type team, Roserade. Roserade is the prime raid meta attacker for the Poison type team, so if you want to use a Poison type team, go for it. But to be honest, you can be pretty confident with the recommended.
I nearly forgot to add Cobalion onto the end of this Thunder Hour guide. Cobalion will be featured in the Thunder Hour. It is a Steel and a Fighting type Pokemon. It's 100% IV at level 20. It's 1727 and boosted in both snowy and cloudy weather. It's 2159. Because of the Steel and Fighting pairing, you're going to be tackling its Steel type weaknesses with Ground, Fire and Fighting all being super effective against it. Fire type counters, you've got Mega Charizard Y, you've got Reshiram, Chandelure, you've got Moltres, you've got Darmanitan that we've just had in the previous event. Fighting types, you've got Conkeldurr, you've got Lucario, you've got Shadow Machamp, Normal Machamp, Shadow Hariyama, and of course Ground that I've already recommended that you make a team for. You've got Earth Power Garchomp from the Community Day, you have got Groudon, you've got Therian and Incarnate Form Landorus.
So I hope you were paying attention because there was quite a lot of overlap with some of those legendaries. So I'm going to recommend 3 teams which you would have already heard me recommend if you watched the previous videos, which are all linked up there. Ice type team, Dragon team, and a new one, Ground. Ground type team covers a lot of these legendaries, and it actually covers a couple of the ones in the previous hours, so it might be worth setting those up. I will showcase, of course, the teams I'm going to be using and that I've set up. I've already shown a couple of them in previous videos. So to round off these 4 videos that I put together, the 6 teams that I am going to be recommending you put together to cover the maximum amount of legendaries you possibly can with as few counters as possible. A Ghost or a Dark type team. You can have a mixture of both. You can choose your Mega and then pick and choose whichever. I'm going to be going Mega Gengar as a priority, then I've got my Yveltal in there, and I've got my Origin Giratinas. I can obviously switch them out with Darkrai if I so please, but it's an amalgamation of the two. Next up, Ice. This combats a serious number of the Flying type, Dual type legendaries and the Dragon types. If you've got Shadow Mamoswine, perfect. If you've got Mega Abomasnow and you want to cycle through Mega Evolves every hour, might be a bit expensive, even I'm not going to do that. Go for this one. You can always use Galarian Darmanitan as well. You've got normal Mamoswine. Third team I'm going to recommend picking is Water. Water has a huge coverage in the Lava Hour I mentioned, and quite a few in the other hours as well. So, Mega Blastoise, priority number 1, and of course Kyogre in there too. You can always pick Mega Gyarados if you so please. Next up is Electric, once again combating some of the flying types, and it also combats quite a few other legendaries as well. I would recommend going Mega Manectric or Mega Ampros to kick things off. Do bear in mind when you're raiding, you can choose where you put your Mega, so some people always put their Mega first. You might want to put your Mega in the second slot. Also, you can bring in Zekrom, best electric type. You've obviously got the Therian form Thundurus in there too. Zapdos and Raikou are really good if you're going for budget counters. Electivire, not too shabby, and of course Magnezone. The 5th team I recommend choosing is one I just mentioned, Ground. Definitely bring in a Ground type team. It's going to play very, very importantly in this, the Thunder Hour. It's going to combat a huge amount of the legendaries, so if you've got a squad of Earth Power Garchomp, I certainly have. You've got Groudon, which you should be picking up during the day as well. You've also got Excadrill, which is probably cheaper. You've got Therian form Landorus and Incarnate form Landorus as well, are really, really good picks. Finally, to cover all bases with certain Dragon types appearing in various different hours, I would recommend creating a Dragon type team. And as you can see from mine, it's a mixture of maxed out level 50 Rayquazas and a couple of, well, one Shadow Dragonite in there. You can bring Shadow Salamence into that too. You can obviously bring in Dragon type moved Garchomp, Zekrom, which has Dragon type moves as well. You can bring in Dialga, which has the resistances. So many different Dragon Pokemon to pick from. It's going to cover a lot of the hours and legendaries that you're going to be facing. Of course, as I said previously, make sure that you join a global Discord. Mine is linked in the description. Come and join, add a bunch of people from different time zones. If you want to get the regionals, you can do so. If you want to keep the raiding going 24/7, because don't forget, when your GoFest hours stop, somebody else's is still going on. Make sure you link up with in-game friends from different regions. Make sure you let people know what you want to be raiding and get your raid game on, people, and wishing you the very best of luck. That is going to cover all the hours. I hope you enjoyed these videos. I hope you found them useful. Do, of course, let me know in the comments which legendaries you're going to be raiding from the Thunder Hour, or indeed all of the hours, since we've come to the end of the raid guides. Are you like me, going to be going for the Dragon types? I'm going to be going for Rayquaza, Dialga, and Zekrom. Or are you going to be searching for the shiny Registeel or shiny Raikou and Zapdos that maybe you missed out on before, I would love to know. But with that, I'm going to say thank you very much for watching, everybody. Please make sure to subscribe if you are new with the notifications on so you don't miss any uploads or live streams, and of course smash that like button if you enjoyed the video, and do let me know of course if you enjoyed and found this video useful. I really hope it was useful, hopefully a condensed down little raid guide thing. Obviously, as I've said in a couple of other videos, if you are picking and choosing a different legendary, you can tailor your 6 raid teams to suit your own personal needs, and obviously a couple of legendaries, pretty much the recommended, will sort you out really nicely. Moltres and Ho-Oh immediately come to mind. They'll sort you out a rock type squad pretty much automatically. Right, I'm looking forward to GoFest. I can't wait to get my raid game back on for all of these good legendaries, and with that I will see you all in the next video, ladies and gentlemen. Do take care.